And so let me turn now, in a timely fashion, to Florence Villeminot, who's joined us because she's been reading the international press. She's got the headlines for us and some of the main stories covered in the day's papers around the world. Lots of focus on the unrest in Burundi.
That's right. Of course, that's a developing story. We've been covering it here on France 24 all morning. But it is a big story in the press as well. On the front page of the Wall Street Journal, they talk about Burundi in chaos amid this military coup attempt. What you can see there is a photo of protesters opposed to this President Pierre Nkurunziza, and of course he's seeking this third term. Now, the coup against him appears to be floundering, according to the Wall Street Journal. The president says he's back in Burundi, but it's an incredibly volatile situation that a lot of papers say is threatening to actually destabilize the whole region. Slate as well says no one knows who's in charge of Burundi right now, and they have an interesting take on things. They say becoming president for life is a lot harder than it used to be.
Well, I'll tell you, things have moved on since those stories were printed. Yesterday, the president was in Burundi. We didn't know where. Now he appears to be back in the capital. That's according to presidential sources, and he should be addressing the nation today. Now, you also pulled a piece from a paper in Burkina Faso. Last year, the country was rocked by violent protests in similar circumstances.
That's right. It's a very interesting article in L'Observateur Palga. It's interesting to see what this paper, how its take on things, given the events in Burkina Faso last year. So the president essentially had to leave power. This is Blaise Compaoré after protests against his desires to hold on to power. He was in power for 27 years. Now, according to L'Observateur Palga, what we're seeing in Burundi is very similar to what happened in Burkina Faso. It's all too familiar. At the beginning, these leaders say, no, I'm not going to hold on to power. And then, in the end, they blatantly violate the constitution. That's what L'Observateur Palga says is happening in Burundi right now. What you can see here on their headline says, constitutional meddling. It's time to move on, gentlemen. Spare your country's instability and chaos. It's a dead end. That goes for Burundi, but that goes for other regional countries as well. It's a message for leaders, for instance, of the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda. According to L'Observateur Palga, the leaders in those countries are also trying to hang on to power. They say without them, the country is going to fall into chaos. But no, according to L'Observateur Palga, nobody is indispensable. Just look at Burkina Faso. 6 months after Blaise Compaoré left power, things aren't rosy, but the country hasn't completely collapsed.
And it's true, you know, that regional leaders are just looking at what's going on in Burundi right now. Regional leaders, of course, saying that a coup d'etat is just unacceptable. Now, let's move on to the UK. Papers there focusing on the political situation a week after the general election.
That's right. It's been a week and things are shaking up. I think The Independent sums the political situation up quite well. If you take a look at it, first of all, you have this photo here. It's focusing on what's happening at UKIP, the UK Independence Party. You can see the leader there, Nigel Farage, the embattled leader outside the headquarters in London. It's become official, according to The Independent. UKIP is revolting, and Farage admits it himself. He's lost the confidence of his party big time. Those are his words. There are major divisions within UKIP over which direction the party should take. Now, also on the front page of The Independent is the situation in Scotland. Unlike UKIP, the Scottish National Party did very well in the election, this landslide victory in Scotland, and now they're demanding more power. You can see this, the Holyrood awakening. The Scottish lion roars at the Prime Minister.
And Prime Minister David Cameron, whom you just mentioned, heading up to Edinburgh today to meet with the Scottish Nationalist Party leader Nicola Sturgeon, who did very well in the polls. That's going to be an interesting meeting, to say the least.
It's going to be quite an animated meeting, likely to be quite a clash, according to a lot of UK papers. The Guardian here is focusing on how SNP ministers are being more and more defiant. You can see here, it quotes senior SNP sources that say that the party actually is going to hold its own independence referendum, even if Downing Street refuses one. And Scottish papers are also focusing on this situation. If we take a look at an article in the Herald, that's a Scottish paper, it says that Scottish ministers will not wait for David Cameron's permission to hold a second independence vote. The Independent, if we go back to that paper, is focusing on this in their editorial. They're talking about the nationalists' revenge. Scottish nationalists are getting their revenge because Cameron essentially played England against Scotland during his election campaign, and, well, he's paying the price of that now, and the price of that might be this second referendum. He might be the first Conservative to win a general election outright, but he might also lose Scotland over it. threats. So according to The Independent, he better be nice to Nicola Sturgeon today.
All right, one last story. You couldn't keep your hands off this one. The clock is ticking for Johnny Depp's two dogs.
Two dogs, his two Yorkshire Terriers. What are the names? Boo and Pistol. You can read about it in the Australian press because this is a story that's very important in Australia right now. Doggone Depp. What is all this about? Well, Johnny Depp he's currently in Australia filming the 5th installment of Pirates of the Caribbean. According to Australian officials, he snuck his dogs in. At least he didn't declare them. And Australia has very strict quarantine rules. And he's really upset a lot of authorities, especially the agriculture minister, Barnaby Joyce. He's threatened to put the dogs down if they don't leave. He said it doesn't matter if Johnny Depp has been awarded sexiest man alive. His dogs have to go. It's a big
He's
story.
that concerned about the two dogs having not been declared.
It's keeping him up at night, obviously.
So it's just paperwork? They need the right paperwork?
Well,
to
the agriculture minister says they need to get out of the country. But it's a big story. It's on the front page of China Daily as well. But don't worry, the dogs are reportedly preparing to leave Australia to evade this death threat.
All right, evading death threats in Australia for Johnny Depp's dogs. Florence Villemino with the International Press Review. Thank you very much.